This week I get looking at steel wired armoured cables, their different types, and then put that into practice on a hypothetical install. So let's get started with week 28 of becoming an electrician. I'm sure that most of you know what a steel wired armed cable is and what it's for. With its outer steel sheathing, they have high mechanical protection. They can be used for mains, submains, commercial and industrial wiring systems, as well as outdoor domestic supplies. This part of my electrical training has me focused on the domestic market and the relevant install methods. But steel wired armour still has its uses for the domestic market, such as an outbuilding, with its ability to be clipped direct to walls and buried in the soil. If you're using the EV Ultra cable, are you using the tough version or the steel wired armoured version for EV installs? Let me know in the comments. There are two main types of steel wired armed cable: the thermoplastic insulated cable with a 70-degree rating and the thermosetting insulated cable with a 90-degree rating. It's possible to use a thinner XLPE, the thermosetting version of that cable, for the same rated current due to its higher rated temperatures. The thermosetting cable has an inner which is insulated by the XLPE cross-linked polyurethane and sometimes an outer too. Generally, this cable is a bit more specialist than standard PVC cables that we would use, and we'd only really use them unless it was otherwise specified to use them. Okay, so I looked at the design that would put this cable into use, providing a lighting and a socket circuit to an outbuilding from a garage. I considered the internal wiring boxes that would be used as well as glands. We used steel conduit boxes to secure cable to the glands. When it comes to glanding steel wired armour cables, you can't beat a John Ward video, right?
Hello, I'm JW. This time we're going to have a look at steel wire armoured cable, or SWA.
I looked at some of the ways that you'd secure this SWA cable to the wall. Using cleats was one example. And when it goes underground, you'd need to cover it with at least 300 ml of sand, with about 150 each side, then caution electrical tape below, and finally backfill it, leaving the cable at a depth of 600 ml. All of these steps mean that you can have a long service life out that cable, and that no garden instruments are going to end up poking through it anytime soon. If you're an electrician burying armoured cables, do you ever find yourself oversizing or recommending to the client that they oversize their cable to prevent future potential burial work? Let's face it, we all want to have an extra load down the garden that we didn't anticipate. Maybe it's time for that hot tub, right? I went over a bunch of material that I covered previously about the generation of 3 phases and how each phase is tapped off to provide a balanced system, whether it be splitting homes up between the phases or in commercial buildings spreading the load between those incoming 3 phases. But to build on what I had already been learning in previous books, we talked about electrical risers. This could be as simple as PVC cable in a few flats, through to a rising main busbar trunking system with a main panel connected to the incoming feed and the rising trunking to each floor. Maybe each phase is tapped off at each floor to provide a feed to a couple of flats on each floor, or hotel rooms, or whatever it might be on that floor. If the floor is big enough, it could have all 3 phases tapped off into a distribution board per floor, and that would then feed single phase loads on each floor. I know we've oversimplified what I learnt here, and there could be far more than one distribution panel per floor or more than one riser per building. One consideration that my training material touched on this week was the need for fire barriers. Creating a hole between floors can cause a chimney effect in the event of fire, and these barriers are designed to slow down the speed and the spread of fire. A short one this week. Next week I've looked ahead and I'll be looking at electrical sciences, which brings me aptly onto the next week of practical. I've managed to get my next practical booked for a few weeks' time, and one of the exams for that week is the sciences exam. Until next time, Battery Man out.